Have you ever stopped to think about how a tiny Roman outpost right on the edge of their empire turned into one of the most famous cities in the entire world? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to explore the incredible story of London. Think of this as our own virtual tour. We're going to see what really makes this city tick, from its super ancient past all the way to its bustling, crazy present. So let's jump right in, starting at the very beginning. All right, so to really get a feel for London, we have to rewind the clock. We're going way back, all the way back to its Roman origins, nearly 2,000 years ago. You know London's spot in the southeast of Great Britain? Totally not an accident. The absolute key to its entire existence is the River Thames. It flows right through the heart of the city and out to the sea. That river has always been its lifeline. So, about 2,000 years ago, the Romans showed up. They founded the settlement, and they called it Londinium. And from that really small beginning, it just grew and grew over the centuries into the huge, sprawling city we know today. Now, the original Roman city was actually protected by a wall, and that area is still known as the Square Mile. And what's amazing is that this ancient Roman footprint, it's now the city's main financial district. We call it the City of London. It's a perfect example of the past and the present living in the exact same spot. So, why this exact spot? Well, it was pure strategy. The Romans, they were absolutely brilliant engineers. They looked at this place and saw that the River Thames was just narrow enough to build a bridge across, but at the same time, it was deep enough for their big ships to sail in from the sea. It was basically the perfect hub for trade and transport. Okay, so how can we still see all this history today? Well, let's take a quick walk through some of London's most famous landmarks. You're going to see it everywhere. First up, you've got the Tower of London. This massive fortress has been standing for nearly 1,000 years. It's been a royal palace, a pretty terrifying prison, and today it's where they keep the priceless crown jewels. This place is just packed with incredible stories. Take a short trip down the river, and you'll run right into Westminster Abbey. And look, this is not just any old church. For centuries, this is where nearly every single English and British monarch has had their coronation. It's a true centerpiece of royal history. And there's no way you can miss this dome on the skyline. It's totally iconic. That belongs to St. Paul's Cathedral. It's become a symbol of London's resilience, It's been standing for over 300 years, and it's survived wars and some really devastating fires. Okay, so we've seen the history, which is awesome. But how does a massive city like London actually work today? Let's take a look under the hood, at the engine that keeps this whole thing running. Just think about it for a second. You have millions of people who need to get to work, get to school, and then get back home again every single day. How on earth do you manage all of that movement? Well, a huge part of the answer is deep underground. The London Underground is actually the oldest subway system in the entire world. But if you ask anyone from London, they'll just call it the Tube. It's this massive web of tunnels that just crisscrosses underneath the whole city. And the thing is, the whole transport system is incredibly connected. So above ground, you've got those iconic red double-decker buses that cover pretty much every neighborhood. Then you've got trains that connect out to the suburbs and all the other UK cities. And paying for it is super easy. A quick tap of a card gets you on almost anything. Plus, with huge airports like Heathrow, London is plugged into the entire world. So with all these people, where do they all live? Well, if you're in the crowded city center, you're going to see a lot of tall apartment buildings and those historic terraced houses. The ones that are all joined together in long rows. But as you move out into the suburbs, things start to spread out. You see more detached, standalone houses, a lot of which have their own private gardens. But don't think London is just all concrete and steel. It's not. So what do you think this number represents? 8. That is the number of massive royal parks right in the city. We're talking places like Hyde Park and Regent's Park. They're these huge green oases. People often call them the lungs of the city, and they give everyone a much-needed break from all the urban rush. Okay, so we've covered how the city works, the logistics. But what does it actually feel like to be there? What's the vibe? Let's dive into that now. The culture, the food, and all the fun stuff. Yeah, London is an absolute cultural powerhouse.
You can go see ancient artifacts from all over the globe at the British Museum, or you can stand right underneath these giant dinosaur skeletons at the Natural History Museum. And you know what one of the best parts is? So many of these world-class museums are completely free to get into. Then at night, the famous West End district just comes alive with some of the best theater you'll find anywhere.
And the food scene? Oh, it's just as diverse. I mean, of course, you can get traditional fish and chips, but you can also find incredible food from pretty much every country you can possibly imagine. London really is a city where all the world's kitchens come together in one place. Okay, I've got another important number for you. 3. What's that about? That's how many times London has hosted the modern Olympic Games. It is the only city in the world to have done that. That alone tells you just how big a deal sports are in this city. All right, so to wrap things up, let's talk about London's role in the world today. Because it's not just a city full of history, it's a really major player on the global stage. Right now, London is a true global hub. It's one of the world's most important centers for business and finance, for sure. But it's also this huge magnet for creative industries. We're talking film, fashion, design, you name it. Hey, remember that square mile that the Romans set up for trade all that time ago? Well, today, it's the heart of a massive economy. It creates thousands and thousands of jobs, generates a huge amount of wealth for the UK, and helps pay for essential public services like hospitals and schools. And that pretty much brings us to the end of our tour. We've seen a city that was born from a simple Roman fort, that was shaped by kings and queens, and is now just buzzing as a modern global hub. So it kind of leaves us with one big question, right? After 2,000 years of this incredible history, what's the next chapter going to be for London?